What's going on, couch potatoes? Alright, today we're going to be checking out a game that just came out called Game Builder Garage. This came out on Nintendo Switch a couple days ago, whatever. Yeah, I saw this, I think, a couple months out. I saw it a couple months out. I saw some screenshots, some preliminary, advertising stuff. I think there was a trailer at the time, but yeah, I saw it, and I was very much intrigued because I saw kind of what was going on in here, and yeah, depending on how they handled it, the possibilities are quite large. So here we are, obviously, taking a look at it. So my idea here is to make a D&D game, Dungeons and Dragons. I think this kind of engine, the capabilities within it are, set up for this nicely. It's pretty simple. D&D is pretty simple. A lot of just random numbers, which there is a very simple to use random number generator in here. So there you go. And past that, it's just figuring out how to implement the rules with math, drawing some sprites and stuff, which, as you'll see, everything is a little bit ugly. And for things that need to be textures, I've made some very simple placeholders, which I'll improve if I get bored or whatever later on. But essentially, I just want to get everything working, and then I'll make it look pretty. So, and then I'll show the I'll put it in description, the my creator ID and everything like that. I don't think I'm gonna even really put up a game ID because I may update it or change it, over the next weeks or whatever, and it just won't be there. So it'd be easier just to put my creator code out there and just look at what's in there, if you even care. But I do, so that's why we're doing this. So what we've got, and I'm not going to go over like basic Game Builder Garage stuff. I'm going to assume that you already kind of know a little bit about this, and if you don't, I'll go wide on the explanations a little bit intentionally. We'll kind of go as we go along, but so the game essentially is going to be, it's going to have to be divided up into multiple game files, and they're going to have to communicate with one another through the only means of communicating between games, which is the swap game node, or node on. And basically what the swap game node on does is it takes whatever number you put in its input and puts it at the output of the corresponding node on that you've selected with a keyword in the settings. So as far as I know, that's kind of like the only way to communicate between the two separate games, send information, which is pretty limited, and you'll see here in a second what I'm talking about. So where's my controller? Sit there. So this would be kind of like where you start. Now in like the upper area, whatever, but above this screen is going to be like an explanation or whatever, rules, blah blah blah, very simple short intro. Then it's going to kind of scroll down into this little area that you see on the screen right here, which is going to be like your initial stat roll. So right now I've got it just set up so I can kind of burn through here and test it, so it's not really set up to play at this point in time, but that's fine. Makes it easier for me to do stuff. So we're just going to use the A button to roll 5 random numbers. Okay, so 24, 5, 15, and 2. And then I'm going to use my B button to basically accept those changes. I can roll for it again if I want, because I haven't put a counter on that action, so it's whatever. I can do it as many times as I want. And then we're going to press B to swap the game over, taking these numbers and putting it into my next game, the base game, or the overworld. And I'm probably going to change the camera as well. I don't think a free-floating controllable camera, aka, like Mario 64. I don't think that's the way to go here. Probably going to have a fixed camera or an above camera. I don't know yet, but we'll see. So as you can see, we've spawned into this area right here, and if I press Y, these are my little stats. Here's my little character sheet, or the beginning of it. You can see I have no potions, and you can also see that the stats that I rolled initially come through. Except you'll probably notice, if you've got a very keen eye, that my third to last and last variable have changed into something else, because I have to modify them after they come out because of just how math works, I guess. Or that, and a combination of the how the game works in and of itself. I can only, the maximum roll for those numbers in that position as they're coming out of the decode can only be, I think, a maximum of 8. Or if it doesn't have to be 8, it can be something else. I just don't know enough about math or encoding to do it on my own. So I used, some basic schematics, layouts, whatever, that I found online. So that's what transfers it over. And then once I decode the number from that, I alter those last two, because they're never going to roll more than an 8. So I want to, multiply them and get a little bit higher artificially. So this is basically going to be, this is where I'm testing the chest mechanic, when you come up on a chest. So when you come up to it, there's going to be a little touch sensor here, right? That displays this little icon. And so when I hit A next to it, oh, we've done something. Now we throw a cube out, and you can see above my head flashed a little 13, I think that was, which is, I consider at this point of development a success in the chest mechanic. I think it's 12 and above. 12 and above is a success. A nat 20 is 3 potions instead of just this one. And a natural 1 is, I believe, it should go to a battle encounter. And the battle game I've got separately as well, because there's a hard limit on nodons that you can have in any of these games. I think it's 512. And this right here is at like 477, I believe. Oh, 427. Okay, so we've got some room, actually. We've got some breathing room. Hell yeah. Okay, we'll look at that in a second. Alright, so, and now since I've restarted the game, I've lost my variables that I transferred from the last game. So, it's just a proof of concept. Typically, when we transfer from this game to any other game, we're just gonna take those variables with us wherever we go, because if we leave them behind and come back, they're not going to be there. So there's no saved states in the games. Whenever you start a game, it starts from scratch, even if you go like to the previous game that you just came from. So okay, so I believe, so I got a 4. That's a fail, obviously. I believe I have a 10 and 11 as a lock, which basically gives you another throw. 12 and up is the success, 20 being a super success, and then 9 and below being a fail, and 1 being a super fail. So I think I should still also have this my dice explode or something, or delete itself after a certain amount of time. Because otherwise it's just going to stay here until I roll something else, or just walk over it. But I don't really like that, so it's on my priority list. So the way I've got this set up is that all of the chests... Oh, look, there's a nat 20. Oh, it's perfect. So look at that. I've got 3. Now you'll notice Oh yeah, I lost on that last one. So I should get 3 potions, and also 3 sound effects, 1/10 of a second in between each other of the potion pickup, like dum dum dum. So hopefully that works. Ah, yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's the stuff right there. So much work for that. And you'll see, we've got 3 potions. So great, perfect. My ability to know how many potions I have is working. Awesome, great, perfect. Alright, so we're gonna try this other chest now, just to... So, a 10? Okay, so perfect. So, I've rolled a 10, which means I've got one more chance to open this chest. Otherwise, it's going to lock. And I won't be able to unlock it unless I find a key. Which, a key is essentially just going to destroy a invisible chest, which is going to reset the count on these chests. Just because I'm lazy. So that's how that's going to work. So I have one more chance to open this. Oh, look at that. Oh, see, that's some mistiming right there. Shouldn't have been able to see that little lock icon, but it was just... The count was 2 because I threw it again before it reset and said, oh, look, oh, wait, I'm sorry, you got a 17. This is an unlock. Here's your potion. Or here's your invisible, destructible cylinder. Okay, so we got ourselves 4 potions. Okay, or an 11. All right, it's a locked chest. Can I unlock it? Now, I am eventually going to use my my dexterity stat to determine how well your unlocking or your chest unlocking is, or basically what number you're generating. Are we gonna lock again? Nope, 19. Got our potion. Now you'll see that right there. Every chest is essentially the same chest. They're just sharing workflows or something, I guess. They're just sharing chunks of code. So whenever, but you'll never actually see 2 chests, line of sight as per design. They'll be around a corner or behind an object or far away or whatever. So you won't be able to see them do this very strange little behavior here. But it technically works. It all the numbers line up where they should be, and I can just get around that by moving them around. So that's how it's going to happen for now until we fix it in a smarter way. Bam. Okay, so we ended with 5 potions. Great. 4 chests, 5 potions. It's usually not that good, honestly. It's usually about 2 or 3 potions. So, that's basically the overworld part. So I'm going to build a little dungeon area, rooms, stuff inside of the rooms as markers to, show you that, oh, this room had a fountain in it, so I don't get lost, right? Because it's going to just be a bunch of generic-y looking rooms. Until I get textures on there, of course. But for now, that's how it's going to be. And each room is going to have a doorway. Going through that doorway is going to trigger the chance for an encounter, like a Pokemon. And your encounter probability is going to be based on your perception, I believe. So the lower your perception, the more encounters you're gonna have. So you better also have a good intelligence or strength stat, so you can battle your way out of that stuff. All right, so we're gonna go ahead now and look at the fun bit. All right, so this is all the way zoomed out. I am at 427 nodes. Oh boy. Okay. Woo! And that's not even really that complex compared to some of the stuff I've seen. But, oh my god, you should have seen it before. Lord, just an absolute bird's nest of connections and nodes, and nothing's labeled, and it was just insane. So I actually had to rebuild this from scratch twice. because it was just so messy. It's like almost unusable. I mean, it was unusable. It worked if I was in the flow at the time and working and being like, okay, this does this, this does this. I was following it, right? I could see it. I was tracking it. It made sense to me. And then I'd, go to work and come back the next day and open it up and be like, what is even happening here? Where does this, variable even come from? I don't know. So it's got to be organized just so that I can even work on it at all, past one, crazy node laying session. So this is actually super, super organized compared to how it was. You can see here that obviously this is the I don't know what even to call these node clusters. That's what I'm gonna say. Just this is the node cluster for displaying what role I have based on the number that I generate, and that's basically R. R is the number that I've generated, or actually I believe R is the workflow or the node cluster to generate that. And I've been trying to keep track of all the variables I've been using and kind of what each variable is doing. It helps a lot, actually. And also, you're limited to your variables by letters. So I can only have so many, variables that I can interchange, R being one of them. That's one of the limitations, as well as the 512 node limit. And also, as you'll see right here, you can only connect, I believe, is it 8? Yeah, it's 8 textures to one object. If I want to basically be moving these objects around, I don't want to see this number when I'm playing. I only want to see this number when I make my roll. So, as far as I can tell, and I may just be stupid, I may just actually be stupid, but as far as I can tell right now, with my stupid brain, this is kind of the best way to do it, is to just attach the maximum number of textures to the least number of objects that I can. Attach all of those objects to a carrier object, in this case a crate, and also a B entrance, connect that to the crate as well, so that all of that stuff gets transported with my original teleport, which happens when when this runs, basically. So when I roll, and this was actually all of this was attached to this chest, right? And it was all of that was about all right here, okay? And for a brief moment in time, I knew exactly what was going on in this little section of just pure solid purple. But like I said, it's unsustainable. You can't work on it like that. So I had to chunk out everything that I could, basically break off things with variables and move them away from one another, and then obviously label them as well. So we're gonna look at, so how do we start? When we walk up to a chest, the first thing that happens when I walk up to a chest is I hit a sensor, a touch sensor. Ooh, hello table. I hit a touch sensor, which is going to display a question mark, right? So where's that? So I believe the sensor is just right here on the object itself, offset a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be, yeah, it's just connected to the back side of them, or the the front side, I'm sorry. Connected to the front side of it, and it's a certain size so that it's not detecting me, 20 feet away. So we activate this touch sensor, right, which sends its on signal, its contextual on signal, to G. And now G is going to basically power this this question mark and turn it on. Let's give it a 1. While simultaneously switching it with this NOT gate to an ON signal, which goes into an AND gate, which is going to be looking for this timer to go off in order to send a signal over here to deactivate it. And this timer is activated by the fact that I have stepped in front of this sensor more than once, and I have run my roll node cluster. And once that happens, activates this timer, swaps this out. Actually, this is what swaps it out. It turns my, and I love these maps. I love the mapping node on. That's great. It's perfect. Takes my 0 and turns it into a 0 because this is flipped. This is actually the default setting is this isn't flipped, and so it just goes from this tab to that tab, right? So if this weren't flipped, a 0 input would give me a -1. So when it's off, it would be sending out a -1, and when it received a signal, it would send out a 0. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted it backwards, so that's why I flipped it. I want a 0 to pass through a 0, but when I give it a signal, I want it to basically turn off the signal on the other end, which, if you're standing in front of the sensor, will be a 1 at this port right here, and then I turn it off at that -1. So it turns that off while also sending out the my exclamation mark. And this happens for the amount of time that I have determined it takes for, 2 seconds for the actual, not the actual, but a fake roll, which is just me pooping out a cube with no faces on it, and it lands the exact same every time. It's just an animation. But yeah, it just poops out a cube, and that's it. The actual roll is happening on a random number generator right over here. And that's a really easy one, right? So I want to roll a number, give me a random number, and also start a timer for 3 seconds, which then resets that number. Because I don't want to keep that number on the output or input of any of the node-ons, because I'm kind of counting on the fact that that's going to be a 0, right? I've got to do stuff with that. And then that goes into F, or in my mind, the face of the die, of the 20-sided die. And so if you've got, so this goes out to F. So I've stood on my I've stood in my sensor, which tells me this, right? And so U is going to start my flow to make other things on this chest happen. So where does U come in? U is on my little roll check over here. And you'll notice that it's on here twice, as an output, or as an input, and as an output. And this is just its own little rolling loop that it does. And it's simultaneously counting, how many times I've done that roll. That's where the lock mechanism comes in, right? So I've got up here. So when I come up here, the A button is plugged into this AND gate. And the AND gate is going to activate when, when my counter is not equal to 0. Otherwise, it's always on with this NOT right here. So as long as the count of my rolls is not 0, or not 2, I can press this A button, and activate this AND gate, because this is always on. And that basically goes into another AND gate and checks, okay, I've pressed my A button and I have less than 2, or not 2, I should say, and one of my sensors for the chests is activated, which basically says, okay, you press the A button, you're not over count, and you're in front of a chest, so roll that beautiful bean footage right there. And also start a timer and go back into the R over here. Oops, I'm sorry. Start that reset process. Right, so comes through, I've counted 1, and then I get stopped once it hits 2. So what happens after U is counting my turns, and then a timer, and then R is going to actually perform my roll. R essentially just resets itself and creates F. That's all R does. So R comes out here. I'm going to say create R, essentially create F. And now I'm going to be looking at F, right? So I've got a success area and I've got a fail area. The fail area is going to be taking F, and I know, all right, I just for my own clarification and ease of use, there's 3 Fs here, right? I could just put 1 and have him going into each one. I know technically it'd be more efficient. I'd save 2 nodons and I'd save 2 nodons, no lines, no connections, but I'd save 2 nodons. And I'm just not at that point yet. I'm not at that point of optimization yet. And I fear that once I start to really crunch it down, it's going to be almost unreadable to me unless I really document and write down how the heck I'm doing this. Which I said I'm lazy, and we're not going to... Lazy? I've done this already. I've freaking done this already. Okay, so I'm not that desperate for space yet. I most likely will get there, unfortunately. So F. Press F for a number. Okay, so F comes in here and says, are you less than 10? Are you greater than 1? Or are you equal to 1? Right? So equal to 1, obviously, that's a no-no. Nat 1s are not fun. So that goes into Z. Z is basically going to be my way of saying, I've got a nat 1, do something nasty. And if I am... So now, both of these, because of this AND gate, both of these have to be true in order for a fail, or a non-critical fail. So I have to be, right, my number has to be less than 10, and greater than 1. Which sends a signal into X. So I don't need to actually pass this number through and do other stuff with it. I can just say that happened. That number is less than 10 and greater than 1. And that sends into X. And I believe X is going to, for 1, reset my game after 5 seconds if I connected this, which for testing purposes I've disabled that. And then it's also going to come in here and destroy my cylinder, my invisible cylinder, which is acting as the detector for pickup for my my prize. And it's also going to destroy the chest. So as you can see, we got a little bit of logic for destroying the chest. First of all, my sensor has to be more than 1, meaning I've stepped in front of this chest. This is the chest we're talking about right now. And you could easily break that by just going around and walking up to several different chests, and then every chest is going to have a sense counter greater than 1, and my math is going to get a little wonky in here. So I have not prepared for that level of people messing with this, but for right now, this is functional. So I'm looking for, in order to destroy this chest or the cylinder, we're going to be looking for whether or not we have engaged this sensor in front of the chest. So that goes to both of those ands. So if we have engaged the sensor and one of these variables is tripped, S or T, T I believe is treasure chest in my weird brain. And that's basically at the end of a node cluster telling me that the chest needs to be destroyed now. And then S, which is a non-critical success or success, which is my, greater than 11, less than 20. So if either of those things happens and I've stepped in front of the chest, we then destroy the chest. Right, and you'll notice that this is only the T, which I believe treasure chest. So this is going to have to basically only happen when I get a critical, when I get a critical win or a 20, which I don't know why I didn't just use S for that. Probably because I broke it out somewhere in a different way. See, even though I've got it so well organized and laid out and everything's nice and spaced out so you can see where the lines are going, I have to come in here and basically reverse engineer my old stuff just to figure out where I am. I mean, you can also step through the program, midway and diagnose it, because for some reason, I'm using a mouse, by the way, too, because you kind of have to. The handheld mode works pretty good, but yeah, the mouse is the way to go on this if you want to really get anything done quickly. So yeah, so I have to come in here and basically reverse engineer, my stuff, and I don't even remember where I was going with it after that. So, but so a success, non-critical success, and a critical success, and the counter, that only destroys the treasure chest and not the cylinder itself. So, but it activates this check. And then Z, being the opposite of A, I have as my critical fail signal, and X is my regular fail signal. So we failed, and the count is 1, and the count is greater than 1. So we destroy the object in there, so that I basically can't collect it. I can't. The parameters are not right for me to collect on that destroyed object. So that's where that happens right here. That's the destroy. So now up here, this is during the roll, and this is for the lock. This basically only activates when I am standing in front of the sensor and my lock has been activated, which basically sends a signal in here whenever my count is over, or my roll count is over 2, or 2 and greater. And then it says, oh, you've got 2, start here, and oh, you stood in front of it, okay, you're locked now. You can't, you can't unlock this until you've collected a key. And like I said before, a key is essentially just going to be, picking up a key is going to just be destroying a chest that looks like a key in order to reset my chest count, so that the chests that were locked now are open again. Maybe there's only 1 key per level, so I don't have to track how many keys I've got and subtract from my key count when I've, we're getting way too complicated at that point. I mean, I would love to get to that point, but it's going to take a lot of time. And like I said, I want to just get something very basic working and kind of get it out there before I make it look pretty, because I want to, when I actually play the thing. I'm making something that I've just wanted to play, right? And that's kind of like what this is for. So, We have performed our roll. We've gotten, you know, a success. That was the fail. So we've gotten a success, which is basically the face of the dice is equal to 20. That's a critical success. See, look at this. Critical success is stored into W. So I totally even forgot what, I mean, I've got it written down, but I'm not going to read it because I'm lazy. I've got it written down what, oh, see, here's T. So, right, so this is why. Yes. I'm distinguishing between destroy the chest on a success, which means you don't also destroy the cylinder inside, and I have to remember that I have gotten a 20, and I believe that is so that I can do some sound effects and, you know, the party poppers and psh, yay, 20! And eventually something much better than that, but that's just a very simple, easy, you know, effect that they give you right off the bat. So that's what we're doing. So we've equaled 20, and then we break it out into two variables that I can talk to after I've gotten 20. And if it's, you know, less than 20 and greater than 12, or greater than and equal to 12, then we start this workflow over here, or node cluster, sending into, okay, that's a success. You've done this thing right here. This is always on. You've done this thing right here. You've got a success, and I'm going to simultaneously turn this flag on, right? Which is looking for my brake cylinder. And you'll notice that if I get a fail, either a regular fail or a critical fail, I turn this flag, which is essentially a switch, off, and therefore I cannot perform a check on the cylinder braking and add that to my potions. Aha! See, it's all coming together. Once you start stepping through it and like be like, okay, this is the thought process I had. This is why organization is so critical. And I honestly believe that the design philosophy around this game and part of the whole entire principle of this game is to teach this lesson right here. Right? Organize your code. Work in a neat and clean environment. It makes everything better. You're more productive. The stuff that you produce is much better, and you can do it quicker and easier. It's more fun. Not to mention, it just looks nice. It just looks. Look at that. Look at that. Look how nice that looks. Oh God, I should show you what it looked like before. I'll probably pop that up on the screen. It's embarrassing, but yeah. So there it is. So that's that. So we've succeeded, right? So now we've got a successful roll that is not a 20. So we break the chest and we reveal our cylinder and we say, I can break the cylinder and track it into P, into my potion list, in my potion item, my potion list, whatever. What did I say? I don't care. Into my potions, my potion variable. There it is. And then also after we do that, originally I reset it so I can try again. Bonus pickup. Now what even is this? Oh yeah, okay. So this is my node cluster for the critical success for the nat 20, right? This is where it is basically, okay, I've broken a cylinder, and I've broken a cylinder, I've waited a second for the little animations and everything to play, and that turns this off, but I've won, I got a critical success, so I turn this flag on, right? And after it breaks, I reset this flag so that I don't get 3 potions every time. So I've gotten a 20, turn that flag on. Now that that flag is on, I'm also looking for that cylinder break. And when that cylinder break with my 20 flag comes on, we map my 1 coming out from here. Well, it would be a 1 when this is active. And maps it to, what am I doing? Oh, a 3, right? So, and here's an example of the mapping node used in a more normal kind of way. I'm only going to be essentially getting an on-off signal from this node, right? I'm not passing data, I'm not passing variables, I'm not passing a larger number. This is a simple on and off, and a lot of the nodes in here do this. And so this is how you can kind of combat that, or change an on into a specific kind of output. So in this case, when I'm off, when I receive a 0, I'm outputting a 0. But when I receive a 1, I output a 3. Right? And so to make this make maybe a little bit more sense, if I were able to roll a 0.5, or I'm sorry, if this was able to output a 0.5 in this configuration, at the end I would get a 1.5 because it's halfway through 1 and 0, so it's also going to be halfway through this range, right? But because it's essentially just off and on, I get min and max. So I can turn that 1 into a 3. Simple. I mean, not simple, but when you think about it for a minute, it gets better, it gets simpler. You get to get into the mindset of algebra, basically. I mean, it's essentially what this is, algebra. So yeah, I made the potion. Yay. So I made, well, I display 3 potions, actually, up here. So after I've gotten a 20, it says, look, I got a 20. Turn on this switch, which allows me to look for the fact that I got a 20 and, or a regular success. And if I've gotten a 20 or a regular success, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Any of these, a normal success or critical success, turns on my center potion. And if I've got a critical success and a success, so this gate will only activate if I've gotten a critical success and a regular success, which by definition the regular success or the critical success is also a regular success. It's just a much more successful. So yeah, so okay, I gotta step through it. I'm sorry guys, I just gotta step through it in my own mind as well. So both of those are true, therefore we light up the other 2 potions. And then we collect our stuff. And so that's basically it. Here's my little thing for pulling up my character sheet, right? Basically just a bunch of, text and number blocks connected to another. And so this is where I'm pulling from the previous game, right? Not right here, but this is where I'm kind of organizing it out. So my A variable is here. So I'm also going to need to be able to transfer my the number of potions I have into the battle game. We'll tackle that when that comes around. So A, B, C, D, and E for all of my stats. And over here is where they're coming in. Right, so basically in my other game, I've just got this, but backwards, right? And without these counters on here. So this basically, on the other side, right, it's multiplying or using maps to take a number that I've rolled. Let's say in that first slot for strength, I rolled, a 20. So it puts a 20 into here, which takes a 20 into this map, which we already know what that map does. And it converts that 20 into a 1.7, right? Converts that 20 into 1.7. I may be wrong there, but as far as I'm understanding, and it'll be easier on these other ones as well. So this basically, well, and also I'm looking at the output in reverse. So my number's getting smaller. My number shouldn't get smaller. The number should get bigger, right? So let's just look at that. So Okay. So here it is. On the beginning side, right? I basically, roll 5 random numbers, store them into A, B, C, D, and E, and then display them up here for your viewing pleasure. And then I take A, B, C, D, and E, and I put them through this little coding process, which, again, I got from Reddit. Just people posting up schematics and diagrams of, how to do basic stuff. And I think I actually still have the game in here. Yeah, this one. Nils Simple Encoder Decoder 1.3. So this is basically what I'm using. So kudos to you for making this for me. Thank you. I'm sure that's why you put it up here, so that someone could use it in their own way for their own game. So again, thank you. Community stuff. And that's also kind of like why I'm making this. It'll be a nice little base for an RPG, right? Any kind of, and a lot of the logic is going to be in there already, so that you can tweak it and make it, harder, easier. Stuff is rarer or more common, or you can put your own textures. I mean, yeah, I'm encouraging putting your own textures, because mine absolutely blow. Absolutely blow. They're just terrible. I am not artistically inclined at all. Hi. So yeah, that's him. That's his little guy. I had to give him a shout out because that just made this impossible. That just made this possible. Oh, bright light. Hello. Okay, so this is where we encode, right? So A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, D, and E, created with random number generators. And as far as I can understand how this works, this, right, comes into this map. So let's say I roll like a 20 on here, right? So I've obviously now gone past my input range, right? So I essentially convert this, my 20, into a, it counts this a bunch of times, right? So 1, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 20, and it converts this into a larger number. So I think I can actually just show you. Yeah, so we gotta diagnose. All right, so I make a number. I start with 5 numbers, right? And I end up with, 453,993. And taking that, and taking 453,993, I can basically, unravel it on the other side with these mappers to say, okay, how many eights were in that first slot? Count from that total number, remove the maximum amount of eights that you could from that big number, and say, okay, that's how many eights you had in the first slot, and so on and so forth until you're left with your last number. As far as I know, that's how it works. I'm gonna have to do some more research and self-improvement in order to more fully understand that, but it works, and I'm able to kind of mess with it in ways that I needed to. So for now, that's as much as I need to understand it in order for it to work. So the limitations of this method are most likely my stupidity. So yeah, so that's that. So we send those numbers. So that's how we get that, right? That's how we come from rolling these 5 numbers. I send out that big ass number, and then I essentially start this game, and it says, okay, so you got 453,993 or whatever. I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in this mapper. So remember, I'm getting a big number, right? And I'm putting it through this map with an input range of the maximum of 8. So I started with 453,000. So this is gonna count, a couple of times towards that. So it's gonna be like, 400, or it's gonna be 8 times, whatever, or 8 divided by. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how it works. I can kind of see it though in my head when I think about it, when I'm more in it, because I kind of just came in here cold and started talking about it because this stuff is like super cool and I'm totally geeking out on it. And so I just kind of had to make a video on it. But yeah, that's about that's kind of like where I'm at right now as far as those two things. So so this is basically the overworld. This is going to be where I roll for chests and I determine whether or not I have a monster encounter. And because of the 512 node-on limit, and you can see not much going on in here, and I am at already 427 node-ons. I do not have very many node-ons left, and I still have to make walls and ceilings and little monsters and doors and stuff like that. Not to mention there's still like logic that needs to go along with all of that stuff. So I'm going to make all of the basic logic, the absolute most basic logic I can, and then basically use the entire rest of my node-on limit for objects to see how many rooms can I get with the leftover node-ons. Hopefully a few. And then so basically each floor of the dungeon is going to have to be one of these maps, and then the town where you go back to rest and buy, sell items and blah 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 is going to have to be its own map as well, as well as a separate game to handle the battles, the battle mechanic, and then the original starting game, where you start, where it basically introduces the rules, the mechanics, and then you make your initial stat roll. So a couple of games. It's going to be a couple of games, but I mean, it's the only way to get that to work, as far as I can tell. So the last piece that I'm going to show you is the actual battle kind of engine or whatever that I'm making. Here we are. So I got a couple of things worked out in here already, right? Just the menu. Doing the menu up and down, up, down, up, down. It loops back right here, bam, 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 because essentially all I'm doing is I just have a counter. The counter has a range of, it's 1 to 5, I believe, because on 5 it loops around. So it never actually is on 5. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, back and forth. So I don't know, it has to be 5, but whatever. So I'm just, and then the, up and down is basically just a function to add or subtract from my number. And the number is my, what I'm using to pull from my, my selection as well. So I haven't done any of these guys in here. Flea, that's going to have to be like, you roll for a flea, you roll for success on whether or not whether or not you flee, and whether or not he hits you while you flee, or she, whatever. Potion, so I'm gonna have to be able to track how many potions I have in the overworld and transmit that over here. Spell, spell is gonna basically just be a generic spell. It's gonna be a fireball, just because I want to get it working before I add more spells and essentially levels and buying spells from the shop in town. So all spells right now is just gonna be one spell, fireball. It's gonna probably be me punching a red ball into your face, and that's a fireball, right? Yeah. Just to get it to work, just to track my mana or my magic, and have the spell subtract from that magic, and do a different kind of roll that I'm gonna do for a regular attack, and then perform that damage, or a range of damage. So all I have right now is just the regular attack, which is going to be like super old D&D style of, oh yeah, I'm going to attack you, low, middle, or high. How do I want to attack? I'm going to go straight for the legs. I'm just going straight for the legs. Bam! Oh, he guards in the middle, therefore I get a successful attack, but it was a low roll on that attack, so I only did 2 damage, okay? So now I'm going to come in up high, going the opposite. Ooh, and he blocked low, so I get another regular attack. Ooh, and that did 6 damage. So that was a maximum attack right there. Awesome, perfect. And he doesn't have his turn. I haven't put that in yet. He doesn't have a turn yet, so yeah. We're gonna just right in the middle. Oh my god, he blocked me! Oh my god. So I only did, what, 2 damage on that one? So that's that. That's that mechanic. That's basically all that works on this one for now. And this is the display for that. So what we've got essentially, like I was telling you over here, my menu is just a counter going from 1 to 5. Yeah, 1 to 5. And my up and down arrows are counting up and down on that counter. What is M for again? Oh, so M is my signal to not display the menu. M is to nullify the menu. See, it's in there. M is to nullify the menu. So it's always on, right? So these AND gates work as just a pass-through, essentially. And when I reverse the signal of M, meaning I want to hide the menu, then my button presses can't get through and change my count. And the count just goes, I have it over here comparing. I'm just looking at the count and saying, okay, is it equal to 1, 2, 3, or 4? And whichever one it is, if I'm not hiding the menu, then I'm displaying that corresponding option menu. And also I'm storing my current menu placement into Z. I forgot why exactly I was doing that, but let's find out. So where is Z? Okay, Z is over here. So now I'm comparing my menu to 1. And if it's 1, then if I'm not turning off the menu and I press A, I'm flipping a switch on that essentially, yeah, that nullifies my menu, goes to Y for some reason, and then hits a trigger, essentially turning this long press, because it's going to be a long press, or it's a flag, so it's a continuous signal. It's going to be, if I were to put it into a counter, if I were to put that on signal into a counter, it would just go and count up and up and up and up and up until it hit its limit, and then reset. So I don't want that coming off of here for some reason. I want a signal. So I think we can actually step through, right? Yeah, so I hit the menu. You can see that they got bigger. I'm in the menu. Now I've hit the button. Bam. Bam. So that just turns that off. So you probably didn't see it, but this here just flashed very, very quickly. It took this one continuous on signal, 1, and turned it into a flash of 1. And why did I want to do that? Oh yeah, because I don't want to be continuously sending a signal to my teleporter. I just want it to happen, right? So that's why I did that. And so this is basically, this is the logic for menu number 1. So obviously I haven't done the logic for the other menus, and this logic right here essentially is just showing me which selection I'm on by turning on and off the low, middle, high. And you can actually see that. It's kind of cool. You can actually see it. I've made the selection. So you can see me making the menu choice right here. You can see it in between this AND gate, right? Waiting for the A button press, saying, okay, I'm lighting up this one, lighting up that one, lighting up that one. And then when I press A on here, we're going to get a random number in there. Got a 2. If it's equal to 2, oh no, this is my turn. Right, this right here is my turn counter. So I don't know where that 2 went or what it's doing exactly, but if I dug through here a little bit more, then I'd remember. But so yeah, that's that. So that is that, ladies and gentlemen, friends, people of all ages. That is what we got going on. I'm working on this diligently, trust me, with an obsessive passion, as much as I really can. Taking time to, eat and go to work and sleep. I've been definitely cutting out on that last one for a bit. So, and it's because of this. I mean, I just look over at the clock and it's like, oh man, it's 11. All right, I can go a little bit longer. Grab a bag of chips, and grab a Kool-Aid or something, and be like, okay, I'll just finish up this little section over here. Look over there, it's 12:45, and my alarm to wake up for work is gonna go off in 3 hours. So yeah, so that's how that goes. So we'll see. But my point being, I've been working on this, as you can see. I've been working on this, and I'm going to put up my code so you can go check it out for yourself, and if you have the game, obviously. And I'll be continuously making updates, making changes, making improvements, improving the efficiency of the logic, adding features, adding textures. Textures obviously is going to be the last thing basically that I do, unless I just get a wild hair up my ass and I want something to look cool, which I may do. You never know. So, but yeah, that's it. That's all we got, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed. Go and check out that game if you want, and stay tuned.